Okay, hello. Wells here. I've never done a podcast before, and the time is now because I have lots to say about the trend analysis, color forecasting seminar that I went to in New York this past week. Let's get started. One thing to know about me, I love color theory, and this is one of my favorite books, The Secret Lives of Color by Kassia St. Clair. Every single page of this book is information about a different color. The start of it is how your eyes perceive color, and even just like how we started talking about color. It's crazy. I would definitely recommend it if you want. I mean, gosh, how would you ever have gone your life without knowing about the shade Isabelline? You're welcome. I could read this all day long. I think it's so fascinating, and there's a lot of narrative behind just what we see every day in science, which is pretty cool. This is why I was extra excited to go to this trend forecasting seminar, because it talks about what we can expect to see in fall, winter 2027, 2028. Back to the fabric shows, I went to two looking for new manufacturing opportunities for my brand Swells. They had panelists covering different topics at different points of the shows, and I made sure to be on time for this color seminar. We had a wonderful speaker. Unfortunately, I did not write down her name. I'll make sure to find that out. So our speaker started with one big umbrella, living matter. Then she broke it down into matter of time, matter of ease, and wild matter. Each of these three subcategories relate to the overall idea that with the rise of AI and just automation in general, we have things at our fingertips. That makes a pendulum swing back into what is genuine, authentic, organic. Therefore, nature. Then within each of these, matter of time, matter of ease, wild matter, our speaker broke it down into color trends, color stories, and trends of living in general. We'll start with matter of time. Matter of time is specifically speaking to objects that carry history. AI is instant, so to contrast that, we're looking for context. Consumers want to feel like they are buying into a story or feel like they are receiving something unique, since pretty much everything else they consume is just instant. This real material physical world is that bridge of the gap from AI instant to a real physical connection. An example of this, even labels, of course, we're used to seeing made in X country. Now it's made by human. She showed us one slide of a ceramic that truly did have the thumbprint of the maker impressed at the bottom. Pressed on. Anyways, overall, there's just a growing interest in craftsmanship, heritage, etc. to directly go against instant AI. This also calls upon this new growing interest into darker gothic motifs, color stories. You can see this across film, fashion, interiors, everything, really. That pendulum is again swinging back into anything that is evoking something historical or maybe even a little mysterious, not so transactional, whatever meets the eye. Introspective drama, if you will. Matter of ease, I'd say, is kind of in that middle of that pendulum. While consumers want to go backwards and feel super artisanal, they still want the automated ease of technology that they're used to experiencing. Products are still going to be super simple. They're not going to be too much, but they are going to have some more personality, showing maybe some rough edges, some tears, something that makes it feel truly real and not manufactured. Finally, wild matter. This is going to be the most intuitive. Nature. This is going to look like organic color stories instead of something that feels super neon or acidic, very vibrant. The colors can still be vibrant, but they're going to be in more of a natural way. Saturated gemstone, very airy lilacs and pastels. Whatever you would find on a flower, check mark. Also, this I think was the coolest because it didn't just talk about color stories here. Even the product itself, whether it be the design on the fabric or the fabric literally, if there's some type of evolution, morphing, changing, to have a life cycle built into the product or garment, A+++. That's pulling on that idea of in nature there's fermentation, there's evolution, and the customer will feel more in touch with the product because of that. But to pull back to that never satisfied way of life that we all seem to be a part of now, it touches on something next, something new, something unexpected. And I think this is a cool blend of the mystery that comes with technology and the mystery that comes with nature. So examples of this, think iridescent silk, sequins, patterns that have stories within them, layered chiffon perhaps, textures, anything that just feels transformative or with multiple life cycles, that is going to be all the rage. After this, our speaker went through every single color, talked about the changes in hue, the popularity of different colors in different countries, and she used a lot of information from this company called Huratech. I'm going to read my notes directly. Predictive analysis company that scans social images across 16 countries. So it goes through all of the algorithms, all of the social platforms, pulls all the data of what colors it's seeing repeatedly, and then puts the data together, presents it to these color forecasting houses, and that is where a lot of this data comes from. So it's really what people are wearing and then predictive data after that. I just think that is crazy. Amazing. Here are my notes. Yellows. From acid to neutrals. Stepping in to replace basic white. Don't think harsh, pure white. Think a light cream. Maybe an ecru. Go that way instead. Browns. From warm to earthy. Tannic burgundy is the most popular. Pinks. Reds are fading and pinks are coming. Purples. Taking center stage. That's a hot take. Greens. From digital neon to organic. Again, less of a vibrant chartreuse, more of a faded, still chartreuse, but softer. Blues. From vibrant to desaturated powdery. To quote our girl Miranda, less cerulean, more washed out denim. Slate. Maybe a lapis lazuli, but nothing too crazy. This also, overall, the muted organic shades of these colors speaks to a trend in environmental dyeing as well, because you have to use less dye to create these desaturated hues, less true blacks, true whites, more dark purples, dark blues, etc., because you don't have to use as much dye to get that perfect shade of black, for example. Okay, this is now when she goes into color pairings, which I found so fascinating. She talks about subtly pouted versus high contrast competition. She also talks about the chiaroscuro color technique, which I'm sure I just mispronounced. But to go back, at the start of this, we were talking about the Gothic color trends and even production styles in general. We're looking at the chiaroscuro painting technique. Very high contrast. Oh, but wait, we just said no high contrast competition? No, not in the traditional way. We're still going to go with super rich color stories with a contrast and those powdery pastels. But each of these color sides are not saturated. So when she says high contrast competition, she means like neon yellow, neon blue. Whoa, crazy color story. We are not in 2012. In fact, honestly, 2012, 2016, like color blocking, we're staying away from in that regard. We still can color block, but in more of a gemstone, just creative way that is not high in contrast. Also, this could look like more analogous color wheels. You could go tertiary if you wanted, but we're gonna desaturate and not go crazy. I'm also so scared to watch this. I feel like I'm getting very passionate. Okay. So with these creative color palettes, another note I wrote down was surreal color pairings that feel suspended in time. Pulling on that concept of wild matter once again, touching on the whimsy of nature with the magic of technology. This is going to look like fluid fabrics, layered chiffon, iridescence to show subtle light changes, even mineral finishes or metallic threads to add in a little interest. This is also when she brought up purple, and call me crazy, I think of purple as just kind of mystical in general. I feel it's holographic. There are a lot of changes within this one color, whether it be warm or cool, that you really see the range. So specifically when she was talking about these surreal and kind of magical ways of showing that trend, the purples were coming out in the sequins, iridescence, etc. So if you're not a huge purple fan, don't worry, you don't have to change your entire wardrobe. But if you see some shimmery item that plays to lilac and powder blue, definitely snag it now. Another vocab to note is the term patinaed. That is something that is going to be very, very hot because those color palettes evoke something that's lived in, something that's rusted, old, just not new, period. So a brassy finish, maybe even that copper turned greenish. That also plays to that morphing that we're finding in nature and technology, so lots of magic. I have a very important bullet written down, and it is muted intensity equals quiet luxury. All of these things are going to be seen in a range of products and categories of consumption. So it's kind of cool. In simple ways, you're going to achieve that high tier of fashion, beauty, jewelry design, etc., just from having a muted color palette. The style, though, is going to come in with how you show those colors, create those subtle palettes instead of the high contrast competition, and really be specific with pulling out saturation in a trend forward way. Here's one way that you can do it. Veiled bursts, a layering technique of vibrant with desaturated. Smoky, shadowy paired with intense. Here are some examples. Dusty kind of prune with a rich magenta or chartreuse even, but in the organic way. Glamour, silky, dreamy, daring, natural. What did that mean? Okay, yes, you could have a dull color palette. Take a pearl color. Actually, let's go even like a bump of a shade down. Eggshell. Pretty boring. If that's in a chiffon, a silk, even a boucle, automatically that pretty drab color is elevated exponentially. It's giving high luxury despite a very subtle color palette. Okay, our last point is on sustainability. We then talked about various dyeing methods. Stick with me because I'm really not fascinated about color fixing. I'm more fascinated about colors, period. But this is crazy. So I wrote down 2, but the first bullet I have no notes with. And honestly, I don't remember. It's called Color Fix though, if you're interested in Googling. The second, I do have lots of notes about. It's called EverDye. Now, this dyeing method cuts energy by 90% because it's electromagnetic dyeing. The dye, which is made from plant waste, I might add, has a positive charge. The fabric, and I guess the water, this is where I don't excel. Science is not my forte. That has a negative charge. By default, that positive and the negative link up. You don't have to use high amounts of energy to heat up the water, cool it down, etc., etc. It just forms together. And that is the end of my notes. This was the coolest seminar. It was so short. It was actually an hour, but I needed it to be like 5. I felt like I was back in college in the best way. I was a fashion merchandising major, if you can't tell. And I just loved it. And hearing about this world that is so massive, I use it for one area, designing my scarves. But people were in the seminar taking notes vigorously on areas that I did not care about because it mattered to them. Whether it be that they're on the production side of things, the energy sustainability sides of things, or maybe just an entirely different product. I mean, we talked about makeup, like I said, interiors, even video production. Truly, the world of making all plays off of each other, and it's really beautiful to see how it does. So thank you to Premier Vision, and thank you for listening to my first podcast. I'm excited to make more. And if you have any additional questions about color, you know who to call because I will talk all day long. XOXO. I'm really not fascinated about dyeing. Like, well, that sounds crazy. I feel suspended in time. Oh my gosh. I have no idea what I'm doing. Waves make a union. Sometimes I do think, okay, am I just drinking the Kool-Aid or does this actually make sense? You can be the judge on if I had an extra tall glass of whatever they were pouring, but today I'm drinking sparkling water and still have much to say. No, that sounds weird. Wow, this is gonna be long.